Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I go by Hiram or Bogwa. Hey guys, welcome to another tutorial. So today we'll be going over the if-else conditional statement. So far we've looked at operators and Boolean logic. If you haven't seen those videos, please go watch them, as this is a build on top of that. So I'm going to write a program that's going to check whether the user is authorized or not, and also what type of access they've been granted based on their user type. With that, I'm going to create the class and get started. I'll go ahead and add the main method. I'll go ahead and print out a statement. Let me fix this to be a string. The first thing that I'm going to check is that the user has passed at least one argument. So the if evaluates this condition if the args.length is greater than 0. That means the user has passed at least one item in there. The args comes in as an array, and .length is a property of arrays. So here what we're saying is, has this user passed at least one argument, right? And that argument is what we're going to assume to be the user type, which is what we access here. Remember, in arrays we start from 0, we don't start from 1. If they have passed at least one argument, we're going to execute this code block to check for the authorization. If they have not passed any arguments, we're just going to let them know they are missing arguments. So I'll just go ahead and compile and execute this just to see. So I ran this program without passing any arguments, and it told me, hey, you have missing arguments, try again. So let's try that again, but this time let's pass user type admin. And there it is, checking authorization for user type admin. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to write a few if-else conditions that check for the user type that's passed to determine what access that user has. So in this if statement, I'm checking if the argument equals regular, and regular is taken to be a string. Remember, strings are in double quotes. And then that allows me to call the dot equals ignore case. So I'm comparing the argument that they passed with the regular. If it equals, and no matter whether it's capital or lowercase, it's going to grant that user, it's going to print out a statement saying you've been granted regular user access. So next, I'll do the same for admin, but this time I will utilize else if. Okay, now as you can see here for the admin, we're doing the same check as we did for the regular user check, but we're using the admin value. And again, the admin value will be taken as a string. Java will interpret that as a string class, which allows us to call the dot equals ignore case method, which does the comparison. The last thing that I'm going to do is, if you do not pass user type regular or admin, we're going to print out a statement stating that your access has been revoked. And this is the basics of if, else, and else if conditions. So the else condition should always be the last to execute. So you have the if condition, you start out with the if, and then after that you can go to an else if. And again, if I wanted to add another else if condition here, I can add as many as I want, right? And the last one that I would have on there would be the else condition. So let's go ahead and compile and test it out. And as you can see, for the admin, they were granted the admin access. And for the regular, they were granted regular access. And note the regular, I passed it in lowercase. Now this is interesting. The access was revoked and I passed the regular. But note, I passed an extra space in there, which caused the check to fail. So the if statement comes here and checks that, hey, does that argument equals regular? It doesn't, because there's an additional space in there that forces this to evaluate to false, which means this will not execute. And when it comes to the next one, it runs that check, it doesn't execute, and finally executes the else condition. Now, one thing we can do to prevent this whenever a user passes extra space is we can trim the space at the end and at the beginning of a word by calling .trim on a string. And now let's compile it and test it out again. As you can see, they were granted the regular user access, even though there was an additional space in there. And we can do the same thing whenever there's a space in front of the word. So that's the basics of if-else conditions. Familiarize yourself with them, as they are important in the software development world. Thank you for watching my tutorials. Give it a thumbs up if you like it, and subscribe if you haven't. And also check me out on Instagram at coderush.io.